So working with Arsenal has certainly given us some depth to the company. It's helped us round out that sales arm and has helped us capture an additional $26,500 in monthly recurring revenue. Couldn't ask for more. My name's Andrew Stainbrook. I'm the president of Dotnet here in Elmore, Ohio. I've been with Arsenal for probably about 2.5 years now. Can't quite remember how long it's been. Yeah, it's funny. I often kid Brock. Brock called me. I was in the drive-through line at Chipotle, and I told him to wait for a second so I could pick up my order. And he hung on the phone for a good 5 to 10 minutes. So that level of respect of my time, I felt I owed it to him to hear him out. Gave me the pitch, and I was sold on the process. Kind of the small story of how we heard about you guys. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a cold call, right? So Brock hit me out of the blue. So doing some research on Arsenal as a company, of course, after talking to Aaron as well in length, what really drew me to establishing a partnership with Arsenal was the process, the systems that were established. You know, that level of detail in creating a process around sales is something that we didn't have, and it certainly drew me in. So it was a turnkey solution at that point in time. We chose the financing plan because it was low risk. I mean, we had never encountered a partner that felt so confidently about their services that they were able to hang a guarantee on success of those services. So clearly, Aaron and the team in general feel good about what you guys are bringing to the table, and he was willing to hang his hat on that guarantee. Yeah, so far it's been going really well. As was relayed to me in the early conversations with Arsenal, this is an investment. Certainly up front. We have to invest in the process, in our rep, to ensure success. It was relayed to me right away that it would be a 4 to 6 month ramp up in an effort for the sales rep to really get some market penetration in our region. And we started to see that towards the end of that first year. So from an expectation standpoint, Arsenal's delivered up to this point. Yeah, certainly over the years, we've had our ups and downs in the process. Aaron's always right there to jump in and talk through that with us. I think as a company, again, the product is there and the leadership stands behind that product. You can't really ask for much more than that. I know we've had some back and forth dialogue on certain aspects of the process and the relationship, and the leadership team's always leaned in and has been willing to help out where they can and make things happen. So I keep banging this drum, man. It's the process for me. It's the structure. Clearly, when this company was thought up, there was some experience behind it, and there was strategy behind it. And I think that, to me, is a huge strength that Arsenal has. I also, over the years, have gotten a taste of the culture that Arsenal has. It's really hard to grow a company and maintain a consistent culture throughout an organization. And Aaron and the team have seen explosive growth in the last 5 years, we'll say, as he's kind of shared some of his history, and then, of course, us working with the company directly. But it seems like even in that growth, purchasing a new building, going through that change within the company, they maintain that consistent culture, and you can feel it. No, I really don't think cold calling is dead. I think it's extremely challenging. And to be quite honest, I'm on the other end of the phone quite often. I get solicited all the time for products and services. And I think it's important that a rep can really cut through the noise of the day-to-day cold calls that I get personally. And of course, when we're prospecting for new business, we want that individual to be able to cut through the noise that those decision makers are seeing and facing as well. And I think Mason Brown is that rep. He's the guy that really matches our pace. He's persistent but not pushy, and he just gets things done. Yeah, I've had the opportunity to work with Brock and Mason over the years. I know Brock moved himself up the totem pole there at Arsenal, which is awesome. I'm real happy for him. So he handed us off to Mason. Certainly apprehensive about kicking off a new relationship with the new rep. But I found really quick that, Mace is not only a great person that cares about people, he just happens to be really good at what he does as well. As I mentioned, he matches our pace, our culture. We put him on the damn website. So, he's certainly one of us. Yeah, Mason and I are in, I would say, almost daily communication. So we have earmarked Tuesdays at noon to discuss the account. We take about 30 to 40 minutes every week to go through everything. Sometimes there's a lot of exciting stuff and sometimes there's not. But ultimately, it's that accountability between him and I. He's pushing me, I'm pushing him. He's constantly bringing new leads to the table and really driving that process forward. To me, the accountability aspect of the follow-up process is huge. So he's always checking in on how things went at a meeting. If I sent out that quote he's been asking me about, so I appreciate it a lot. Yeah, I think we closed the year with Arsenal. The first year we had kicked off a relationship with Arsenal, I believe we closed the year around 625,000 in top line, and then today, as it stands, or at least at the end of 2023, we finished right around 1.1 million, and we're looking at a targeted goal of 1.35 this year, and most likely going to hit the 1.5 mark this year. So we're hopefully being able to realize our 2025 goals in 2024 with some recent activity that Arsenal's brought to the table for us. It took about 6 to 8 months to really see things dialed into where we wanted them to. Not for lack of trying either. .Net has reinvented itself quite a bit in the 2.5 years we've been working with Arsenal. We've completely refined our service stack and our offering as a company and really narrowed our focus as to what we want to project ourselves as in the market. So we've changed our approach over time as well, which certainly can slow down the penetration of the organization in the marketplace. But Brock and Mason never skipped a beat. They shifted gears when we shifted gears, and there was several times where they were back to the drawing board on an ideal target market or ideal client profile, and they worked with us in every step of the way. Yeah, so I had to put some brain power to this. So year to date, monthly recurring revenue, we're at 26,500. My first thought was, it's about time. We certainly wanted to chase down something as quickly as possible. But again, like I'd mentioned, we're extremely excited to close that first deal, especially after switching things up on the sales rep over the course of that first 6 to 8 months. We were really excited. We were relieved. It was a small deal, maybe around 2K in MRR, but we needed to break the ice. Yeah, so the most recent deal that we've closed happens to be the largest deal that we've ever closed in .Net history, and potentially in Arsenal history, which is awesome. So I got a call from Mace about an organization locally that had some pain surrounding an existing provider. We find a lot in this region that certain organizations, specifically in the manufacturing space, they just don't get the support that they need in order to stay relevant in their space or to stay secure. So Mason had reached out to me about this organization. Within about 3 months or so, we were sitting in front of DMs, decision makers, working through the final steps of the process. So, there was a handful of meetings with internal IT that led us to the final conversation with leadership and ownership of this organization. That deal equated to roughly $17,950 a month for 24 months. So certainly a game changer for us, and it really allowed us to break into that mid market with confidence. Um, and as we continue to scale this company, we know that level of support is really what we're after. Roughly, I'd say the last conversation Mason and I had, which was probably about an hour and a half ago, he said he had around 40 warm leads in the pipeline. So our ideal client profile is that 50 to 300 user environment. So I guess, you could do the math on what a fully managed contract would look like. Closing, up 10% of those 40 customers is a huge win. On the table, companies that have been quoted, I would say we're probably in the $30,000 to $50,000 range in monthly recurring revenue. Quite honestly, I've considered canceling maybe 2 to 3 times in the relationship. And I think that what really kept me in it was the relationship that I developed with the reps. I have a lot of faith and confidence in what they do, and I know that this process takes time to develop. So there have been time where I was seeing the money going out, not coming in, and I got cold feet, wanted to pull the plug. But again, communicating that with the reps and letting them know kind of where I stand month to month, I felt good about what they were bringing to the table, which is what kept us in it. So this process as a whole, as I said earlier, is an investment. It's not a set it and forget it solution. You have to put the time in, not only with your reps, but with the data and with the prospects to ensure that you're going to get success from it. You really have to dig in on it. It's not something you can just buy a contract with Arsenal and not think about it. Yeah, I've never had a relationship like this before, so I'd say at least for me in the position that I was in, growing a pretty young company with limited resources, Arsenal was certainly not for the faint of heart. As I said, you've really gotta dig into it. So if regular communication is your style and you're not afraid to get your hands dirty and dig in, I certainly think it's worth the cost. Yeah, I don't have to babysit Mason. Not for a minute do I have to worry about what he's doing. I know he's getting after it, and he's constantly getting after it, bringing stuff to the table I've never even heard of, companies I've never even seen before that are right in our back door. Um, so I think Arsenal's a no-brainer. Rule of thumb in the industry is around that less than 5 million in top line. You can't really bring internal sales in house. But even if you do, you still got to have the infrastructure and the capacity to scale that team. So Arsenal's a turnkey solution. So at this point, it's Arsenal. I get emails all the time, man, and I just get desperate vibes from a lot of these guys. When I initially had that conversation with Brock, it was I could tell he was really curious. He wanted to learn more about what we had going on. Um, Certainly, he was trying to sell the product, but the discovery process seemed very genuine, and I appreciated that. That's why I gave him the time. Yeah, pre-COVID, it was all in person, but now I think it's a bit of both. Our process is Mason usually sets up an intro meeting virtually, and then we move to risk assessment or risk analysis, which I can send out pretty simply from my end with little to no time investment. And then when we go to present that data, of course, I want to be in person. I want to do the close in person. So the intro's virtual, close in person. It's my preference. Yeah, I put a lot of thought into this over the 2.5 years. I think the biggest weakness, or at least the biggest opportunity, if you will, to invest in Arsenal, if I were part of that company, would be to find a way to empower the partners more effectively. Not all of the partners are going to be created equally. Let's face it, we're in IT. Some of us aren't very good communicators. So figuring out a way to develop or train on a sound sales process or pitch. Getting content in front of the reps to ensure success of closing deals, which is only going to strengthen the relationship between the partner and the company. Finding a way to invest in the relationship. And a lot of this content could be you build it once and maybe you hold a couple workshops and that's that. So it could be done in a group setting. But I think, with Mason booking deals for us, I feel pretty good about closing deals. But if I wasn't a good communicator, I'd probably be in a rough spot. I'd have a little bit of a challenge. And most of these are, from my understanding, a lot of these folks that work with Arsenal are, um, these are the owners of a company, or the guys with a small shop that may not have the depth, be able to spin up a sales process or a clean pitch. So that would be my advice. I mean, certainly revenue goals. There's no denying that. I think personally is for the first time in my career, I don't feel like I have to be as aggressive on getting out there, shaking hands, introducing myself, meeting people. Most of the business was grown via word of mouth and networking. So being able to reclaim some of that time to be able to dedicate it to more strategic initiatives internally, coaching my team, helping the company from within, to me is certainly a huge win. Greatness. Mace is a great guy. Yeah, I can't say enough about what he's done. I value the relationship that I have with him, um, and it is very important to me that I don't have to worry about that arm of the business. I know it's in good hands. So I've come to expect that day in and day out. Mason's on top of it, and I know the infrastructure is behind Mason in order to support him in what he does, because I'm not the only rep that Mason's working with. So for him to be able to do this for a handful of other companies and still maintain that level of focus on me and my organization, and not for 1 minute feel like my attention is being divided amongst the other five, there's something to be said there. Revenue share, because I'm cheap. Mason just got a big win on that last closed deal, which he deserves it. But it also incentivizes him to hustle. We have a good back and forth dialogue, and I think the revenue share model really gives him some skin in the game. He wants it. He wants to chase those ideal client profiles, those folks that really fit our company and that we can support. Um, just gives him a more of a reason to dig in. Yeah, beginning of this year, we had purchased a building. Money was tight. Aaron worked with us to kind of get us through a tough spot. I appreciated that. I'm really grateful for that. I should probably reach out and tell him that. And I think that now that we're on the other side of all that, we've seen some success this year, big success this year, utilizing Arsenal. It's got my wheels turning on what other markets might we be able to break into. So we've got a 3-year target, which ends at the end of 25, to expand our service area. And I am seeing more and more of a part that Arsenal's going to play in that expansion. Yeah, I think that it's very reasonable to assume that people that invest in a sales process or a sales company are looking to attract more revenue. Clearly, might need it desperately. It's not going to come month one. If it does, good for you. It's going to take time. You got to invest in it. The more you can do outside of the monthly meetings or weekly meetings, the better off it's going to be for you. So myself personally, I've taken it upon myself to do some prospecting and feed lists to the reps to kind of help round out that pipeline. So if you can dig into it, again, you'll get out of it what you put into it. It is going to take some time to ramp up. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't have to tell Mason how I feel about him. He's certainly a rock star. He's a member of our team. he's he is a diamond in the rough, and I know he is valued greatly at the organization, and his success in his role has proven what he's capable of. Continuing to invest in those folks, it it makes a world of difference. So don't sleep on Mace. He's got big things planned for himself, and he's going to continue to grow inside the company and inside that role. He's just got to stay our sales rep forever.